Hey guys, my name is Mengs, and in this video I'm going to show every single secret and explain every recruitment in Rebellion Saga. There are timestamps which will take you to every chapter if you're only interested in a specific one. Let's get started with Chapter 1, Rose Knight's Resolve. In this first chapter, you have to clear out the town of Dawnridge from Boogie's gang. Boogie himself goes into the tavern at the start of the battle, but he will come out of it again on turn 7 on Lunatic mode, turn 8 on hard mode, and turn 10 on normal mode. There are many villages to visit in this map. Let's go through them all. The bottom right village gives you a discipline skill scroll. These can be consumed to teach your character a permanent skill. Keep an eye out for these, there's plenty to obtain in the game. The bottom right village gives you an Ancestor Scroll. These are items which passively modify growth rates when held in a character's inventory. They also have the added benefit of making the unit holding them immune to critical hits. You can view a character's modified growth rates by pressing select, and note that multiple scrolls do stack, but growth rates can never go below 0. There are 9 scrolls total available in the game, but the order in which you get them are randomized every playthrough. If you gather all 9 scrolls, you will unlock a secret chapter at the end of the game. The middle right village gives you between 9 and 10,000 gold. The top right village gives you an accuracy ring. The top left village allows you to recruit Rosalina. She will come out of it at some point regardless, even if it is destroyed, but visiting her gives you a divine icon. Rosalina's starting class is randomized. She can spawn as either a sword knight, a lance knight, an axe knight, or a bow knight. On the left side of the village is a skill shop. Here you can buy one of these skills. Normally this will cost you 1,000 gold, but the first one is free. All characters on this map recruits themselves. Callum and Ragnar will join on turn 3, and Garant will join you on turn 5. Garant has a unique event on every map called an Atrocity, which makes him do something evil to level up his demon spear. Garant's Atrocity event in this chapter is to have him visit Rosalina's village before she comes out, which will make him kill her and level up the spear. The spear also has a 2% chance to level up whenever Garant enters combat. If the spear reaches level 5, you will be transported to a special chapter once you beat it, where Gideon will be forced to make a deal. This will reduce his stats, give him a curse skill, and will also remove Garant from your party. If you don't visit Rosalina's house, she will come out of it on turn 7, even if it gets destroyed, and she will actually use the divine icon she has in her inventory to boost her luck, so you don't really lose out on it, it's just forced on Rosalina. If you visit the tavern before Boogie comes out of it, you can spawn him early. For doing this, you will be rewarded with a new rally, Boogie's Blast, which increases the damage and attack speed of your army by +2 for 5 turns. Chapter 2, Merchant's Gambit. In this map, you have to get one of your units to rescue Walter's caravan on the other side of the river. Fred has fortified the bridge with some very scary units, but there are many ways to deal with this. The Ancestor Scroll in this chapter is located on this graveyard tile, but on turn 7 on hard mode and turn 5 on lunatic mode, a thief will spawn from the left side of the map and try to reach it to steal it. Once he does, he will try to escape on the right side of the map, but you can kill him to obtain the scroll. On turn 2, Jacob and Madeline will fly in from across the map and turn blue. If you have Jacob visit this beach tile on the other side of the river, you will get a secret event where he finds a skill ring and gains a bonus level. In the village across the river, you will meet Aubrey. She will offer to join your army for 5,000 gold, but if you enter with Gideon, she will offer a 500 gold discount. If you decline her offer, she will give you a torch. If you visit the house near your starting location, you will meet a lumberjack lamenting the loss of his felling axe. This axe is located on a fighter who changes position slightly depending on your difficulty, but it's always on your side of the river. If you bring it back to Jack, he will offer to cut down a tree to make a bridge for you. This will give you a way to cross the river, and also rewards the visiting unit with a bonus level. There are other ways to solve this quest, however. If you give Jack a devil axe, he will kill himself upon hitting the tree, giving you the devil axe back and also inflicting your unit with a curse. However, you can also give the felling axe to Ragnar and have him wait on this beach tile, which will cause a genealogy-inspired cutscene to play where he gets a hero axe, a personal brave axe that only he can wield. However, you can also give this hero axe to Jack. This allows him to still cut down the tree and give you a bonus level, but you will also get him as a pre-promoted hero in Chapter 6. There's a 4th secret event. If you give Jack the devil axe but order him not to cut down the tree, you will have to fight him in Chapter 6 when you encounter him again, and this encounter is very scary. There's a skill shop on this map that will teach you one of these skills. On the left side of the map across this river, you can find Drago the Axe Cav guarding a small child. You can talk to this child with any of your units to turn her green, but Madeline is by far the best unit to do this with. Once you pick her up, Drago will start chasing after you. If you bring the child across the river, you can drop her off near her village and make her enter it. Once this happens, you can recruit Drago with either Gideon or Madeline. Drago is an interesting unit in that he is a mercenary who cannot be deployed normally, but he charges you gold for each map he's on. But you will get him addition to your regular deployment slots. If you visit the bottom left village after rescuing the girl, they will offer to drop the bridge for you. This will drown any ground units currently situated on it, including your own, so be careful. The bridge will be raised after a turn, and you can't drop it again this chapter. Be careful though, if you have Drago visit the village, they will get mad and close their gates, locking you out of doing this. There are two atrocities for Garant on this map, though one ends with his death. The first is if he drops the bridge and kills an allied unit. The second is if he kills the girl Drago guarded. Since this atrocity is out in the open, he will be called out on this, turn red, and then you have to kill him. You can't even talk to Walter before he's dealt with. The boss Fred is found guarding the caravan. You can bait him into charging you by putting Gideon on this fort. The choices are just for flavor. Whether you flirt with him or insult him, he'll come charging against you on his own. However, if you don't do this, Fred will also charge you on turn 10 on lunatic mode and turn 15 on hard mode, along with all his men. If Fred moves onto the bridge and you use the village to drop it, you will get unique dialogue and a bonus level. Sparing Fred will also grant you a rally, Divine's Blessing, which grants a barrier boost to your entire army at the start of the map. You don't need to have Fred drown to unlock this rally, you can simply choose not to fight him, but dropping him into the river is a much easier way to do this. Another secret is to have Drago drown as a red unit. If you do this, he will lose his horse and axe, but will come back in the next chapter as either a mercenary or a soldier. Walter, as a red unit, actually has a gold pouch on him that you can steal with Aubrey if you recruited her. Lastly, if you wait until turn 30, Armin and Alexander will actually show up and you will get a game over, so don't waste too much time. Chapter 2X, Rose's Respites. This is the first guidance chapter in the game. Here you can talk to your units to give them bonus experience and also build up their supports. In the latest version of Rebellion Saga, we made it so you can talk to all your allies, but only the 5 first conversations give bonus experience. This way, you can enjoy all the optional dialogue on a single playthrough if you want to. There are a couple of things to note about this map. If you talk to Walter, you can select a free upgrade for his wagon. If you talk to Gideon's horse Marcus, you get a free level up. If you talk to Reynard, you can choose one of the 3 Rose Knights to accompany you, or choose none of them to get a rally, Cry of the Lone Wolf, increasing Gideon's critical chance when he's on his own. Whichever of the Rose Knights you did not recruit in this chapter will join later on in chapter 9. If you buy a fishing rod from Walter's shop, you can go to the nearby lake with Gideon to fish. It will cost you 250 gold per bait. You have around a 20% chance to catch a cod, and then a 15% chance to catch something rare. You can get either a steel blade, a silver bow, a tomahawk, a pilum, a red gem, a physic, some holy water, a stiletto, a gold pouch worth 500 gold, or a pair of cursed boots. There is also a 0.1% chance that you will catch the golden carp, which sells for 10,000 gold or can be consumed to grant 10 luck to a unit. Catching the carp will also give Gideon a lucky 7 skill scroll. At the end of the chapter, you will be presented with a route split. You can either go the easy but slower A route, or the quicker but much more dangerous B route. On your first playthrough, we recommend you pick the A route. Chapter 3A, Florian's Lake. On this map, you have to escort Walter to the other side of the map, and losing him is a game over. The Ancestor Scroll on this map is located in the top right village, which will also give you some gold. The bottom left village will give you a Shinebind staff. On the right of your starting position, you can find Captain Bill. Talk to him with any playable unit to recruit him. Captain Bill can in turn recruit the Armor Knight Dimitri located on one of the small islands. The priest Nathaniel will come out of the village on turn 2. Talk to him with any unit to recruit him. There's a house near your starting position. If you visit it with Callum, you will recruit his daughter Yvonne. If you don't visit it, she will come out as a green unit on turn 5, but you can recruit her with Callum then as well. Garand's atrocity event in this map is to have him visit Yvonne's house before she comes out, but if you do this, you are a monster and should not play this game. On turn 6, the brigand Bert will spawn in the north side of the map and will start going for the villages. Talk to him with Gideon or Rosalina to recruit him. If you visit this cave with any unit, you will get some funny dialogue and a pet rock. If Rosalina or Bert visits the top right ruins, they will find some hidden treasure worth 7,000 gold. Any unit stopping on this tile, Rosalina included, will also find a memory prism, which unlocks a cutscene. There's a skill shop on this map, visit it to learn one of the following skills. If you step on any of the forts on the island, you can raise and lower the drawbridges as many times as you want. If Drago drowned in the last chapter as a red unit, he will show up on the island as a swordsman with no items and a random personal skill. It can either be lightweight, camaraderie, survival instincts, natural cover, or strong riposts. He will attempt to move towards Gideon, who can talk to him to recruit him for 2,000 gold. On turn 7, the boss Moreau will shout out to all the transport ships to flee, and they'll make their way south. If you manage to destroy them all, you will not only get the loot that they carry, but also unlock a rally called Scavenger's Ploy. This will allow you to get a random item if Walter is deployed on the map, and will also grant him a bonus level. When one of your units gets to this point of the map or beyond, Caroline will spawn on the following turn from the west. Once she does, all drawbridges will be automatically lowered and all enemy units on the map will charge at you. If Captain Bill is alive at the end of the map, he will give you all the items he has in his convoy, minus his exclusive weapons, and he will come back later in Chapter 6. Chapter 3b, Ungvik's Stampede. Like in Chapter 3a, the goal of this chapter is to transport Walter safely to the other side, but unlike the A route, you are on a timer here. Take more than 15 turns and you will get a game over. And of course, you will also lose if Walter is killed. The ancestor scroll of this chapter can be found by visiting this church. If you visit it with Garant, he will instead destroy the church and the scroll both to trigger an atrocity. The Centaur Mystic Nalani will be a green unit during battle preparations, but will join you as soon as the chapter starts. If you visit this tent with Callum, you will meet Haley and Yvonne will join your party. You can also visit the tent with Garant to trigger another atrocity, if you are an evil bastard. There's a skill shop in the center of the map. Visit it to buy one of the following skills. If you visit this cave with any of your units, they'll find some hidden treasure worth 7,000 gold. If Drago drowned in the river in Chapter 2, he will spawn when Gideon enters any of these red squares. He'll be a soldier this time, coming with another set of random skills. It can either be Bond, Elbow Room, Discipline, Keep Up, or Cover. You won't have to pay him anything to recruit him here, he simply joins you. From turn 6 and onwards, Ashburn Axe Knights will start riding in from your starting position and chase you down. On turn 11, the mighty Gustav will appear holding the Ash Cleaver Regalia. If you somehow manage to defeat either Gustav or his sons in this chapter, they won't show up later in Chapter 6 or Chapter 9. This chapter has maybe one of the most bizarre secrets in the game. If you somehow manage to kill Gustav and get your hands on the Ash Cleaver and enter this cave with Nalani holding it in her inventory, she will meet PH. In PH mode, he will give her a warp staff, but outside of it, he will give her the Bread Scroll. This is the only way to obtain this scroll outside of PH mode. The Bread Scroll acts like other scrolls in the game, giving critical immunity, but also boosts strength, magic, and skill growths by 77%, while lowering all other growths by the same amount. The Bread Scroll is not counted among the Ancestor Scrolls needed to unlock Chapter 11. There's a tent in the bottom right corner of the map. The reward you get from visiting it depends on the character you use. Here's a list of all characters and the item they get. There is an element of stealth to this chapter. You can attack the centaurs all you like, but the moment you enter combat with a Duskstalker, Gideon will shout out a warning. From this point on, Pegasus Knights will start spawning and honing on your troops. It is therefore in your interest to avoid the Duskstalkers for as long as you can. The easiest route to do this by far is the bottom route, where there are mainly centaur enemies. This map is covered in light traps. When a unit steps on them, light runes will spawn all around them. They only last for one turn, but they can split your party up at crucial times. If the character springing the trap is either Aubrey, Nalani, Callum, or a promoted Jacob, the trap will be disabled. The light traps can be triggered in these areas of the map, but they won't all be active. Rather, a few of these are randomly selected every time you play the map, so you can never be completely sure where they are. The boss of this map, Alan the Monk, can be found guarding the exit. If you defeat him, he will join your party after the map is over. Chapter 4, Nightfall. While there are technically two versions of this map, they are so similar that there's no point in doing two different segments. Instead, I will just start off by talking about how they differ from each other. If you went the A route, you will begin in the top left part of the map, and the chapter will be taking place during nighttime. There's a rogue with an Armstrift scroll up in the top right corner, which will start running away on turn 8. If you played the B route, you will instead begin in the bottom left part of the map, and the chapter will be taking place during daytime, and the rogue with the Armstrift scroll will start much closer to your starting position, but he will attempt to escape right away. On this map, your objective is to kill the 4 Duskstalker commanders, while the Steel Knights fend off against a horde of charging centaurs in the bottom right. However, at some point during the battle, you will be visited by the Ghost of Lightbringer Pasts. From the middle right part of the map, Alasdair will spawn on turn 2 on Lunatic mode, turn 3 on Hard mode, and turn 4 on Normal mode. He will start killing the Steel Knights one by one every turn, saving Commander Striker for lasts. Whatever you do, do not attempt to fight Alasdair. There are no units in your army that can even land a hit on him. The Ancestor Scroll on this map is in the inventory of the boss Cicero. However, you can only obtain it if you manage to kill the 4 Duskstalker commanders before General Striker is killed. If you fail to do this, Cicero will still show up once the escape segment of the map begins, but he won't be carrying a scroll. Killing Cicero and obtaining said scroll is also the prerequisite for unlocking Veteran's Surge, which is a rally that grants 25 experience to all deployed units. On turn 4 in the A version of this map, and on turn 5 in the B version, 2 Duskstalkers will spawn near this house and attempt to oust a shaman inside it. This is Astrid. She will stay put outside her hut until you recruit her with either Gideon or Nathaniel. Talking to her with Nathaniel, which you can also do after she's recruited, will make her give him a Spook Tome, which is the only way to train his dark magic rank. If you visit Astrid's house before she comes out with Garant, he will kill her and you will trigger an atrocity. If Aubrey was either not recruited in Chapter 2 or perished along the way, you will find Thorn the Thief in the rightmost section of this map. Talk to him with either Gideon or Walter to recruit him. In the center of the map, you will find Harriet as a green unit, guarded by a Steel Knight. She will mostly be busy healing the Steel Knights, but will start escaping the map on turn 8. If you talk to her with Callum, she will give him her Mern staff and the Live to Serve skill, as well as a bonus level. If you talk to her with Yvonne, Yvonne will get a Shining Bow, the Survival Instinct skill, and a bonus level as well. Once the escape part of this map begins, one of the enemy Duskstalkers coming in from the top right part of the map will carry a Canto ring, which has to be stolen. Equipping this ring on a unit will give it the Canto Plus skill, allowing it to spend its remaining movement after taking any action. If you take too long with the escape segment and somehow manage to prevent Alasdair from catching up with you, on turn 30 he will teleport right on top of the cave entrance. This really shouldn't happen unless you go out of your way to see it. Chapter 5: Darkest Descent. In this map, you have to explore a dark, creepy dungeon, but you do get to do it alongside Galahad. As you might expect from a dungeon, there's lots of hidden treasure to be found. In the northern chamber, you will find 2 weapon racks. The leftmost rack gives you either an armor slayer, a heavy spear, or a hammer. The rightmost rack gives you either a flame sword, a flame lance, or an umbra axe. The chest to the left of the racks gives you a rescue staff. In the first big hall where you have your encounter with the abominations, there's a door that can only be reached with a flying unit, dropping a lockpick unit onto this balcony. Inside this chamber, you can find some hidden treasure worth 7,000 gold, as well as some arcane powder, which you can give to Walter in the next chapter to have him make some arcane bombs. Once you reach the central chamber, there's a big pool of blood. Have Garant bathe in it to trigger an atrocity. In these 2 bookcases, have a unit stand next to them to get a random tome. You can either get a Bolganon, a Holy Fire, a Koro, a Dark Spikes, a Thoron, a Fimbulvator, a Nightfall, or an Umbra tome. In this bookcase, you can find a random skill scroll. You can either get a Bloodlust scroll, a Wrath scroll, a Life Taker scroll, a Dawn scroll, a Dark Curse scroll, a Liquid Ooze scroll, a Hex scroll, or a Night Tide scroll. Lastly, in this small bookcase, you will find the Ancestor scroll of this chapter. In the final chamber of the dungeon, you will encounter the Golem. I made an entire video on how to defeat it, so if you want some advice, click the link appearing in the top right corner of your screen. If you defeat the Golem quickly, or on Stronger Bosses Challenge mode, you will earn the second Win Rally, a highly situational rally that fully heals your army. Chapter 5X: The Rebel King. There's a lot to do in this Gaiden chapter. Lots of people to meet and many items available in both Walter's shop and the armory and vendors. Each of the Steel Brothers have talks which will offer you some kind of reward for the cost of a bonus level. Thorgrim will teach a rally, Bulwark of Steel, which reduces damage taken by -3 for 5 turns. Robert will offer to teach Gideon to wield weapons, giving him 150 sword and lance experience as well as 1 boost to his constitution. Galahad will offer to train with Gideon, giving him a small boost to all of his stats. You can also fish in this Gaiden. Bait is a bit more expensive, but the rewards are better. In addition to cods, cursed boots, and gold pouches, you can now get a falchion, a recurve bow, a vouge, a spedum, a peshkats, a matrona, a thoron, and an elixir. And of course, you still have that 0.1% chance to get the golden carp. If you talk to Dimitri or Alan in this Gaiden, they will offer to leave and join Baudumon's party. Accepting will have them give you a stat booster, an energy ring from Dimitri, or a spirit dust from Alan, and this will allow you to use them in the Baudumon Gaiden chapters. There is a way to have them rejoin Gideon later, so you don't have to lose them permanently, but this will come at the cost of another potential playable character. If you found the arcane powder in the last chapter and talked to Walter, he will create some arcane bombs. These can only be used by Walter himself when he is promoted, but they are powerful nukes that deal significant damage in an area of effect. If Yvonne spoke to Harriet in chapter 4 and then activates her support with Callum while still being a tier 1 class, aka either an archer, hunter, or bowcav, Yvonne will receive a secret promotion to adventurer. Lastly, before you retire to your tent, make sure you talk to Penelope to get 10,000 gold and a dire thunder tome. At the end of this chapter, you get the option to accept Baudumon's side quest. This will unlock 2 bonus chapters. There are some rewards obtainable in this map that can transfer over to Gideon's army, including an ancestor scroll. But if you decline, you will get an eternal seal instead to make up for a bit of what you would lose out on. Chapter 6, Part 1, Brave Beginnings. This is the first Baudumon optional chapter. If this looks a little different to the one you remember, make sure you get the latest version of the Rebellion Saga ROM, as this map has been overhauled since launch. There's a village on this map that, when visited with Sham, will give an Elwyn tome, and this also prevents a few Falconite reinforcements from spawning in Chapter 6, Part 2. On turn 10, a caravan spawns that will attempt to escape the map. If you destroy it, you will get an angelic robe. There's a boat you can speak to in order to turn it blue. You can use it to cross the river more easily, and it will also be relevant later on turn 9 when a kid shows up. If you talk to this kid, he will turn blue. Talking to the boat with the kid will prompt Baudumon to send a guardian to ensure he makes it home. You can choose between Tarek or Rachel, or between Dimitri or Alan if they accompanied Baudumon. If you do this, they will leave at the end of the map and show up later in Chapter 6, Part 2, on turn 3, where they will join Gideon's army. Not only will they get a bonus level, but they will also get a specific reward. Tarek gets a Brave Axe, Rachel gets a Hamern Staff, Alan gets a Nightfall Tome, and Dimitri gets a Brave Lance. At some point after defeating Fred, Coulter will offer to head south to help Gideon. This will make him show up in Chapter 6 Part 2 to destroy a ballista, but you will lose out on him for the rest of the map. If you complete this map in 20 turns or less, Gideon will receive some boots. If you additionally beat it without losing a single unit, Gideon will also receive a Miracle Scroll. Any deaths in this chapter besides Baudumon himself are not permanent, so the only thing you lose out on is the scroll. Chapter 6, Part 2, The Turning Tide. In this map, your objective is to clear 5 ballistas surrounding Castle Ring, so Windlance reinforcements can arrive. Your first objective, however, is to cross the bridge, and you have to do this while Randall shouts orders at you. These orders can come in 3 forms. He either disables your staves, prevents you from rescuing and dropping, or prevents you from trading and using items. He does give you a warning of which one he will do the turn before, so just watch out for them and prepare ahead. At some point, depending on your difficulty, turn 5 on normal mode, turn 6 on hard mode, or turn 7 on lunatic, Gideon will take over and remove Randall's orders. However, if you manage to get Gideon himself over the bridge before that happens, he will still disable Randall's commands, but you will also get a rally, Bolstering Banner, which lets you summon a green banner that boosts leadership stars and heals nearby allies. If it survives the battle, Gideon gets a random stat boost. There are many villages to visit on this map. The top right village gives you an Ancestor Scroll. The bottom right temple gives you a Hamern Staff, and the leftmost village close to your starting location gives you between 7 and 8,000 gold. If you enter this village with a Robert or Randall on no money challenge mode, you'll get some funny dialogue. The top middle village gives you an energy drop. However, if you gave the hero axe to Jack the Lumberjack in Chapter 2, he will join you as a pre-promoted hero, wielding said hero axe. If you gave him the Devil Axe, however, but didn't have him chop down the tree to create a bridge, you will have to fight Jack as a berserked red unit, and he is very dangerous. However, he is permanently berserked, so he will attack your enemies too, and you can use this to your advantage. If Garant kills Evil Jack, he'll drop his Demon Axe. Garant can use this as a halberdier or general. If you bring the Felling Axe to Jack's village, you'll get a Sword Slayer, the only one obtainable in the game, and there's also a 2% chance you'll get a Master Axe. Lastly, if Jack died in Chapter 2 cutting down the tree with his Devil Axe, you will meet his mourning parents and they'll give you a Dawn Flower. There's a hidden treasure on this island worth 7,000 gold. The Atrocity event on this map is triggered if you have Garant visit the ruins. He will kill the priest and forgo the Hammern to level up his Demon Spear. There's a skill shop in the bottom middle part of this map. Visit it to learn one of these skills. If you field Callum and Yvonne together on this map, they can talk to each other to give Yvonne 2 HP and 1 strength. If you play the last chapter and send Coulter away, he will show up and eliminate a ballista of your choice. On turn 2, you will be joined by some new units, Ellen, Olga, Henriette, and a pair of 2nd Battalion snipers. The snipers are here to man the ballista. Keeping them alive does not grant you any rewards. If Ellen and Drago triggered their support in 5x, he fights for free on this map. If they triggered their alternate support, Ellen can step onto this beach towel to spot his Midas axe in the water. On the other side of the bridge, you will find the Blade Master Kestra and her company of Styxian sellswords. They will hold their ground until they're ordered to charge on turn 5. You can only recruit Kestra if Randall survives a round of combat against her, but it has to be with Randall wielding a melee weapon. If he uses a ranged axe or throwing spear, Kestra will not be swayed. Once he does survive a round of combat against her, she will turn blue, and her mercenaries will turn green and attempt to flee the map. Randall and Kestra have some great interactions together, as their supports will teach Randall to use swords, which will both let him use Kestra's personal sword and the Hellblazer regalia. On turn 6 on Lunatic, or turn 8 otherwise, Bert will spawn in the mountains if he was not recruited in Chapter 3a. Talk to him with either Gideon or Rosalina to recruit him. Once you eliminate the last ballista, Wester, Ada, and Moriana will spawn on the next turn. If Laurel is still alive, Wester will kill her, and this will make you lose out on the Eternal Seal she's carrying. At this point, the map turns into a defense chapter. You get the option to give Wester the Archkill Tome or to have Moriana wield it. Losing Wester is a game over, so having him wield the Archkill makes it a lot less likely he'll die, but having Moriana use it gives you an immensely powerful combat unit. Callum and Moriana has a talk on this map that gives Callum +1 bonus magic and resistance. Jack and Rachel have a talk on this map that gives Jack +1 defense and resistance. Sometime after the defense section of this map begins, Kurt will spawn from the right side of the map if either Callum or Yvonne is present. If Callum talks to him, he'll receive the Gale Shot before Kurt leaves. If Yvonne talks to Kurt, she'll get the Sure Shot skill, though if Callum is dead, you'll get alternate dialogue and Yvonne learns Recklessness instead. The boss Lyrion will spawn towards the end of this map. If you kill him, you'll get a Memory Prism. Chapter 7, Shrine of Secrets. On this map, your objective is to protect Mortimer. You will get a game over if either he or Maria perishes. There are 2 ways to clear this map. One is to take down the bosses, Cicero and Eloria. Their spawn is randomized, but if you have Aubrey deployed, she will reveal their positions if you ask for advice and pay her 50 gold. Eloria starts on this map with a random ancestor scroll in his inventory, which she will drop if defeated. The second way to win this map is to have Mortimer channel enough shrines to open up the central one. This takes 4 channels on normal mode, 5 channels on hard, and 6 channels on lunatic. Once this is done, Mortimer can move on to the central shrine to unleash a massive purge that destroys all enemies on the map. However, you will miss out on Cicero's Dawnflower and Eloria's Ancestor Scroll if you do this. If you manage to channel every single statue on this map with Mortimer before clearing it, you will unlock a new rally, Shrine's Blessing, which grants all deployed units +2 permanent bonus to their luck. Each of the statues will have a different effect when channeled by Mortimer, but keep in mind that these will never affect the Dark Bishops, who will attempt to take the statues away from you. The statue closest to your starting location will grant you bonus vision. The top left statue will fully heal your units. The top middle statue will freeze all enemies for a turn. The top right statue will poison them for 3 turns. The bottom right statue will summon walls in various locations. The bottom left statue will silence all enemies for a turn. And lastly, the bottom middle statue will summon Zacharias, who will heal your units, clear their status, and buff Mortimer with a protective spell that makes him harder to kill. Zacharias will also fight with you until the end of the map. If you talk to him with Penelope, he will give her a 1-use Lumina staff which she can carry with her. Penny will join you at the start of this map. She has a very good personal skill called Investigate, which buffs the skill of nearby allies. Using Investigate also gives Penny some experience, and there's a very small chance that she can find some hidden treasure. She can uncover either a concoction, a white shard, a protein bean, a bulk ban, or an eternal seal. The Bishop Valeria begins in one of 4 random locations on this map and will make her way towards your units. She can be recruited by either Gideon, Henriette, Penelope, or Maria. There are many chests on this map. You can obtain a Dark Blade, a Divine Icon, an Eternal Seal, a Rescue Staff, some boots, and a Light Blade. If a character moves on to these locations outside the shrine, they have a chance to find a Dawn Flower, a unique stat booster that grants 3 HP and luck. The chance of finding a Dawn Flower is the same as finding items in the sand on a desert map. Thief classes will always find them, and everyone else has a percentage chance equal to their luck. Lastly, on PH mode, this map has 2 secrets. The first is if you somehow manage to clear this map on turn 1, PH will show up, give you a warp staff and a bunch of stat boosters. The second secret is if you somehow manage to promote Mortimer with all challenge modes active, he will permanently stay in your party. This has no bearing on the story, it's just a funny Easter egg. Chapter 7, Part 2, Kindling the Revolts. This is the second Baudemon optional chapter, and this one sees you burning some supplies before escaping into the cover of the night. The only secret in this map is to have one of your characters visit the top right village to get an ancestor scroll. If the camp wakes up, this village will close its doors, so do it while you're still stealthing. This scroll will show up in Samuel's inventory in Chapter 9a or Beatrice's inventory in Chapter 9b, so it will eventually transfer over into Gideon's army. As with the last Baudemon Gaiden, completing it in 20 turns will get Gideon another pair of boots, and doing it deathless will give him another miracle scroll. Chapter 8, Lights Fall. On this map, your objective is to reach and defeat Aurelion before the shrine reaches 100% energy. For every conduit that exists, 10% charge will be added, and Aurelion himself also adds another 10. Once the shrine reaches 100%, you have 1 turn to kill any conduits to lower the charge. If you manage to never let the shrine reach 100% power, you will unlock a rally, Eternal Vigilance, which generates an Eternal Seal that Gideon can use or hand out to someone else. If you gathered all 8 Ancestor Scrolls up until this point, Aurelion will have the Lightbringer Scroll in his inventory, which drops upon his death. This scroll is the strongest in the game, as it boosts all growth rates by 20, and obtaining this scroll is the requirement to unlock the secret Chapter 11. From turn 13 and onwards, Aurelion will start growing stronger every turn, getting increased stats. If you somehow manage to survive until turn 24, he will become so powerful that he will instantly wipe you out. The atrocity events for this map is to have Garant kill Helfir and Raquel. He can level up his spirit twice by doing so. Killing Raquel with anyone will also drop a memory prism. The left side treasure chest contains an angelic robe, while the right hand treasure chest contains an eternal seal. If you kill Aurelion before defeating Raquel on any difficulty, Aurelion will sacrifice her to revive himself. If you play on PH mode, this chapter has some nasty surprises in store for you if you bring Regalia. By bringing the Ash Cleaver, you will be forced to fight Ash. By bringing the Gale Shot, you will be forced to fight Gale. And if you bring the Lumina stuff, you will be forced to fight Zacharias. Chapter 8X, Fiery Crossroad. There aren't any secrets in this chapter, but there is a recruitable character. If Ellen is still alive, you can talk to her to recruit Ash. This will cost a conversation, and if you deny her recruitment, she will instead give you a Fiery Blood Scroll. At the end of this map, you have a route split. You can either choose to go up against Armand or Alexander. Armand is by far the easier option and is recommended if this is your first playthrough. At the end of this chapter, something important happens to both Helios and Alinora. If they are promoted, they will receive a regalia, Helios the Hellblazer and Alinora the Archgale. However, if they are still unpromoted by the time Chapter 8X begins, they will be removed from your party, and Cyrus and Moriana will take their place instead. Keeping Helios and Alinora alive until the end is required to unlock Chapter 10X, so if this happens, you will not be able to get this chapter. Chapter 9a, Ride of the Roses. This is the penultimate chapter of the game, a clash with the Honorable Armand. At the start of the map, Gideon will draw your attention towards a nearby dark castle. Visiting it will recruit Octavia the Gremory. Whoever you send into the castle to recruit Octavia will be killed, and she will absorb their personal skill before coming out. However, there are a few units she won't kill. These include Gideon, Nathaniel, Penelope, Walter, Randall, Robert, Cyrus, or Moriana. Visiting the Dark Castle with Nathaniel will unlock some unique dialogue and a C support, which can later be improved to a B support in Chapter 9X. Visiting the castle with Garant will make her kill Octavia and trigger an atrocity. Octavia is a very unique unit. She flies around and takes damage per turn when underneath sunlight. She has extremely high defenses, but takes effective damage from light tomes and silver weapons. If her HP ever drops to 10 or below at the start of your turn, she will go permanently berserk, forcing you to kill her. If Alan and Thorn are fielded together on this map and have a B support, they unlock a unique talk conversation where they get a Shinebind staff and a Peshkat's knife. On turn 2, Samuel will show up alongside any of the Rose Knights you did not recruit in Chapter 2X. Talk to him with either Gideon, Penelope, Walter, or any of the Rose Knights to recruit him. However, make sure to also have Gideon talk to him even if he's recruited, as that will teach Gideon the Resolve skill. If you obtain the Ancestor Scroll in Chapter 7 Part 2 with Badimon's Rebels, Samuel will come with said scroll in his inventory. There are many destroyed villages on the map, but some can still be visited. The top middle village can be visited for a body ring. The rightmost village can be visited for an aura tome, as well as a silver blade. If Octavia visits the village, she won't get any of the items, but she'll destroy it to get a level and 2 bonus to her constitution. The leftmost village can be visited for a spirit dust. If you're playing this game with Death Squad's challenge modes, a named boss named Rambert will spawn on turn 11. If you kill him with Garant, he will obtain the Demon Edge. If Garant also obtained the Demon Axe from Jack in Chapter 6 Part 2 and holds all 3 demon weapons in his inventory at once, he gets the Killing Machine skill. On turn 7, Dravenor and Miriel will spawn on each side of the map, each with their respective squad. If you kill one of them, you can recruit the other with either Gideon or Ash. Once you do, their squads will turn green as well. On turn 10, if you haven't engaged Armon yet, he will charge at you, forcing the battle to end sooner rather than later. However, if you manage to defeat Armon before this occurs, you will learn a new rally, Blazing Speed, which permanently boosts the movement of all deploy units by 1. At the end of this chapter, Samuel will leave, but he will give Gideon the Rosethorn Lance. If you had gone to Chapter 9b instead, you would have received the Alistar Tome from Beatrice. Chapter 9b, Victims of War. Welcome to Hell. This is a map where everything and everyone will try to kill you. There are 2 ways to clear this chapter, either by killing Alexander or by killing Moreau. Moreau will spawn in 2 different ways. You can force him to show up by taking down all 4 commanders, or simply wait until the time limit runs out. Killing Moreau will then end the chapter. However, there is another way to end the map early. If you suffer at least 5 deaths over the course of this map, Alexander will spawn from turn 7 and onwards, together with Moreau. When this happens, taking down Alexander will end the map. Chapter 9b is covered in traps. Every barrel on this map has a 1 in 4 chance to be rigged with explosives, dealing heavy damage to units stepping close to them in an area of effect. Pitfalls also litter the map. Here are the locations they can spawn in. They have a 1 in 4 chance to appear on each area. Characters falling into a pitfall will take damage and be put to sleep for a few turns, though this can be cured with a restore stab. Flyers are not affected, and thief classes will always avoid the pitfalls. Other units have a small chance based on their luck stat to avoid them. One of the most dangerous aspects of this chapter are the children. They will slowly move towards your army and freeze any unit they come into contact with, and you cannot kill them, as that causes a game over. You can talk to the children with Varg to disarm them, and Nathaniel will also be able to do the same if you fielded him. Nathaniel has a talk with Varg on this map that unlocks their support conversations. Thorn and Alan also have their talk here too if they have a B support, similar to Chapter 9a. There's a hidden treasure worth 7,000 gold in the bottom left corner of the map. Aside from the 2 villages close to your starting position, which drops a silence and a restart stack respectively, every village on this map is random. 6 out of 9 of them will be trapped. The remaining 3 will give you a random reward. The rewards can either be a rescue staff, an eternal seal, an angelic robe, some spirit dust, an energy drop, or a Hermern staff. However, the traps come in 2 forms. They either poison the visiting unit and deals 20 damage to them, or they spawn an assassin right below their location. If you visit the tavern in the center of the map, you will get some pixie dusts, but the tavern will also blow up and deal 5 damage to the unit visiting it. However, there is a 1 in 50 chance that a horse named Juan will spawn on top of the roof. If you keep Juan alive until the end of the map, you will get some boots. If you try to enter this alleyway to visit the armory or shop, it will collapse on top of the unit, dealing heavy damage, so be careful if you want to go there. There is also a skill shop on the right side of the map, which will teach you the following skills. On turn 2, Beatrice will come in from the south, accompanied by the Rose Knights you did not recruit in Chapter 2X, and her entire squad will turn blue right away. If you obtain the Ancestor Scroll in Chapter 7 Part 2 with Baudumon's rebels, the scroll will appear in Beatrice's inventory. Like with Chapter 9a, Dravenor and Miriel will spawn, though a little earlier at turn 5. Killing one will allow Gideon and Ashe to recruit the other, turning their remaining squad green. Also similar to Chapter 9a, killing Rambert with Garant will have him obtain the Demon Edge, and by holding all 3 demon weapons in his inventory, he will learn the Killing Machine skill. As with Chapter 9a, if you finish this map before turn 10, you will learn the Blazing Speed Rally, which gives +1 permanent movement to all deployed units. Gideon will also automatically learn Resolve at the end of the map. You will also get the Brave Ring for beating this chapter, and if you kept Varg alive to the end, he'll join your party and give you an Eternal Seal. Lastly, Beatrice will give Gideon the Alastor Tobe at the end of the map. If you had gone to Chapter 9a instead, you would have gotten the Rosethorn Lance from Samuel. Chapter 9x, Calm Before the Storm. If you talk to Jack on this map while he holds the Hero Axe in his inventory, he will gain 10 HP and the Aesir's Chosen skill, which boosts his hit rate depending on his luck and prevents his axes from losing durability. At the end of this map, you get a choice of 4 different options for siege preparations, which will greatly affect the final chapter. Here is what they do. If you choose to fortify the walls, all destructible buildings in the next map will receive a bonus to their HP, meaning battering rams will knock them down in 3 hits rather than 2. If you choose to deploy extra ballista, you will get 2 additional heavy ballista and 3 additional arrow spades inside the walls, with the latter 3 being manned by 3 green 2nd Battalion snipers. These come in addition to the 3 you can deploy normally. If you choose to recruit militia, you will receive reinforcements on turn 7. Brandon will come out alongside 6 heroes and 3 berserkers. While the reinforcements will be green, Brandon himself will turn blue, allowing you to control him for the remainder of the battle. If you choose to erect first aid tents, you will spawn 10 tents all across Holtmire, which will heal units standing on them, boost their resistance, and cure any status effects. You will also be assisted by Harriet and 4 clerics wielding physics staves, which will heal your troops. Lastly, if you select to construct forts, you will spawn 7 additional forts inside Holtmire, and you will also be joined by 2 additional green Steel Knights in the battle. Chapter 10, Light's Wrath. This is the final main map in the game. Gideon needs to hold out against the onslaught of the Lightbringer army. The entire Lightbringer royal family is present in this battle. If you manage to kill them, they each will result in a single unit type not spawning. Killing Kaleth stops Swordmasters from spawning. Killing Lyrion stops Snipers from spawning. Killing Aethra stops Sages from spawning. And killing Lucian won't stop Halberdiers from spawning, but it will make their gear significantly worse. If you deployed Ashe on this map, on turn 2 she will summon a 3-use Meteor Tome, which can be used to one-shot the battering rams. This tome cannot be hammered. On turn 3, Cathis will spawn in the south part of the map and go Super Saiyan, and he'll start nuking your units one by one. If any of the royals have been defeated by the time he shows up, he will shield the rest of them with a spell that improves their defenses, making it much harder to finish them off. If you kill all Lightbringer royals excluding Cathis, you get a Memory Prism. Every turn, Cathis will nuke a unit on the map. He begins with Lionel and Tristan, and then will start killing your playable units one by one. As with most Siege Tome users, Cathis prefers to nuke units last in the deployment order, so you can actually manipulate who he kills by deploying them last during battle preps. However, there are some units that Cathis will never target, with Joseph's Wrath. If these units are the only ones left on the map, Cathis will start nuking generic Steel Knights instead. A lot of characters have unique reactions when their friends and loved ones fall on the battlefield in this chapter. Some will become enraged and get the Vengeful skill. Others will mourn their fallen and get slight penalties to their stats. This can also change depending on what supports you've built up until this point. If Nathaniel has a B support with either Varg or Octavia, on turn 5 they will warp out of this map and unlock a unique epilogue scene. If you are fool enough to approach Cathis with any of your playable units, he will nuke them out of existence, and lots of characters have unique death quotes if you do this. On turn 7, Captain Bill will show up if you kept him alive in the air route, and on turn 8, Walter will show up in his balloon if you promoted him prior to the chapter. If you kept Helios and Alinora alive to the end of this map, you will unlock Chapter 10X. You will also unlock another secret map, Chapter 11, if you collected all 9 Ancestor Scrolls. Chapter 10X, Hope Amidst Flames. This map is unlocked if Helios and Alinora survive Chapter 10. It's a stealth chapter where you have to free prisoners from the Flameguard dungeons. There aren't any secrets on this map, but there are some things to keep in mind. Using a silent staff on the patrolling guards will allow you to attack them without them sounding the alarm. You start with one silent staff in Alinora's inventory, but you can find additional ones on the maids in this chapter. They are located in these areas. Be aware that once you've saved all prisoners, Cyrus will leave your party, and you have to do another quest helping John escape with Jesse and Natalie. Helios has a talk with Jesse that may be interesting for those who enjoy London Saga. In this talk, Helios gives Jesse a knife, which later turns into his lucky knife. Completing Chapter 10X also unlocks a unique epilogue scene at the very end of the game. Chapter 11, In Utter Darkness. This map is unlocked if you gathered all 9 Ancestor Scrolls, but it can also be accessed directly from the menu by simply selecting No when asked if you've played this game before, and again when the game asks you if you want to do a challenge run. When you unlock the chapter this way, you don't get to see any of the story, but it's still a viable way to compete on the Discord scoreboards for the best top 10 turn count. Visit the Rebellion Saga Discord for more information on this. If you play on PH mode and ask for advice, you will get the bread scroll in Iris's inventory. But if you do this, you won't be able to compete for the top 10 scoreboards. This is just for fun. Lastly, if you do unlock this chapter the normal way and survive until turn 25, Theodore will spawn as a green unit and make his way down to escape the map. Protect him to unlock the final secret map, Chapter 11X. Chapter 11X, A Glimpse of Lights. This is the final secret map in the game. It sees Theodore and Alanda escaping the royal palace together. This entire map is a big puzzle, and so there's no secrets per se, just keep your eyes and ears open to navigate the maze of corridors to eventually escape. Well, there is one secret. There's a very small chance when certain events occur that this happens. Finally, there's a few universal secrets left that are not chapter exclusive. If you play PH mode, PH will give you a bread scroll at the start of chapter 1, which is a very good item. If you are crazy enough to attempt all challenge modes at the same time, you will get Angelus in your party from chapters 1 to 5. He will eventually leave and join Baudemon's party instead if you choose to play those. If you beat the game with all challenge modes unlocked, you will get a unique cutscene at the end of the game with a unique CG. If you want to unlock it yourself, avert your eyes now, because I'm about to show it. Since you've sat through this video so far, I may as well show all high-resolution images of Sigrid's CGs that appear in-game. Consider it a reward for sitting through this entire video. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, those are all the secrets and recruitments in Rebellion Saga. This video took a lot of time and effort to make, so watching the entire thing through and leaving a like and a comment really helps me out. Have you tried out the latest version of Rebellion Saga yet? Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. And once again, thank you so much for playing and enjoying my game. My name has been Mengs, and I'll see you next time.